also have a website where I post ASMR and non-ASMR content almost daily. One of the more recent things I posted there may or may not have been that I got a job offer. I'll speak more to that at a later date, but you will definitely hear about that first, more specifically in the VIP tier with the ASMR audios. So if you're interested, go ahead and check out my website. It is asmrxbabe.com. It is always linked in the description box below. So, today I am going to be answering your big sister questions, your life advice, career, relationship, all of the things that you guys asked. And I love answering your questions and getting into these types of topics. It is truly my favorite thing to do. Give advice. So, without further ado, we are just gonna get right into it. Alright, so the first question that I was asked is how to prepare financially for big life moments, aka wedding, buying a home, etc. Also, is there anything you wish you had or hadn't done in terms of finances in your 20s? Great question. So, for me, I definitely take a lot of pride in being really financially responsible, but with a nice mix and balance of saving and spending. So, I think the main thing that you need to do, which sounds so simple, but is to save now and save as much as you can. I've talked about this before, but how you can really train yourself into doing this is to adopt the mantra, pay yourself first, okay? When I was an intern, for example, and I was 22 or whatever, however old I was, I got a real paycheck for the first time ever in my life. It was $20 an hour. I was working 40 hours a week, and prior to that, all I had known was Sephora, which I worked part-time, and I got like $11 an hour. And previous to that, I worked under the table for like $8 an hour, like 10 hours a week. So I was jazzed to be making this money. And when I did, I started shopping, buying just anything that I wanted, and I was kind of just balling out. Then that internship ended, and all of that money was gone. It felt like I had so much money while I had it, and then it was just gone, and I had nothing to show for it. From that moment on, I learned how to save and to pay yourself first. And all that means is whenever you get paid from your paycheck, take your money that is owed to your bills, your rent, and your savings right off the top of that and put it in separate accounts so that you are always contributing to your nest egg. When it comes to how much you should be saving, there is not a one-size-fits-all answer. It's going to depend on your salary and your expenses. So you just have to, I'm sure there's like calculators online. You can put in your expenses, your salary, and kind of see what you want to save. But if you're doing well, if you're not like really struggling financially and you're just starting out in your career, save a few hundred a month, save 1,000 a month if you can, right? If you are struggling and you really have nothing, save $100 a month, $50 a month. Do not underestimate the value of putting that money aside. Also, as far as your big life moments, start now. I started a house fund when I was 20 years old. I'm turning 31 in 2 weeks. I have not purchased a house yet, okay? So savings for those type of things. Your wedding, don't worry too much about that. You can kind of combine the house and wedding if you want a little bit. Your husband, right, will help contribute. And with your wedding, you're going to be paying things at different times. It's actually not as awful. Like, you're not like handing over a check for the most part, unless you're doing something super bougie to someone for like $50,000. Like, you're not doing that. You're paying $1,000 here, $1,500 there, $2,000 there. So I could talk about being responsible with money and saving until I'm blue in the face. It's such a like topic that there's so much to talk about, but you have to pay yourself first. You have to save, and feel free to have multiple savings accounts if you'd like. I used to have one for my loans, for a car, and for a house, and you just keep throwing money into all of them. And even if you're not about to buy a house, buy a car, get married, whatever it is, still saving them. Next question is so appropriate considering I'm 30 and about to turn 31 soon, like I just said. So, speaking as a 21-year-old, I'd love if you talked about how to maximize your 20s and get the most out of these last youthful years. Hold on. But also how to not dread approaching / starting your 30s. I hate that society says women are somehow devalued and everything is going downhill at 30. Totally. Number one, let's be careful with these last youthful years. You don't suddenly turn into a haggard old leather bag when you turn 30, so do not worry. I am 30, 31, and having the best time in my life, enjoying the perks of financial freedom, being settled, things like that. I think that even I look forward to my 40s, and that'll be like a prime for me too. So once you kind of get past your 20s, you realize that your 20s are such a young, like almost like now in my eyes, like teenager young part of your life. So don't you worry. You're not gonna be like old, and you shouldn't be dreading turning 30. Like, I'm so happy right now, and I'm looking forward to my 30s and being like a young, like real adult. Do you know what I mean? So there's that. As far as maximizing your 20s, I am really into everything like within reason, like to have fun, but also like balance, right? So you should be doing everything that you need to be doing to become successful in your 30s, 40s, 50s, and live the life that you want to live when it comes to, your finances and your family situation or whatever. But you shouldn't be putting like a ton of pressure on yourself. You truly don't realize how young you are while you're that age. I'm sure I will look back at myself now in 10 years and be like, oh my god, I was like worried about turning 30, and look, I was so young, and now I'm 40 and happy as a clam, whatever. So I think do what you need to do career-wise, but just be okay with being patient. Don't jump the gun on like being overly pushy about like promotions or like things that are gonna like ultimately self-sabotage you. Like, I was so concerned about like salary, in my 20s, and now I've kind of had a factory reset, being that I was laid off for 5 months, and my kind of plan has restarted, and I'm on like a different path and trajectory that I'm really excited about. So have the most fun, and like don't feel guilty about stuff. Like explore, and anything that feels like trashy or too young or whatever, if you find yourself, at a bar and you're 25 and you're like, oh my god, there's 21-year-olds everywhere, like get over it and like enjoy, like nobody cares. So just live it up while also like working towards what you need to do, career, etc. So the next two are like aligned. How to politely ask your friends to talk about their boyfriends just a little bit less when we are together. Basically, I I don't get asked by like my girlfriends, right? And any of my girlfriends that are actually single, would roll their eyes seeing people ask me these questions because I've been in a relationship for 156 years. But that said, as far as asking your friends to talk about their boyfriends a little bit less, I mean, I think that I would like start with the more subtle approach of kind of like changing the subject or not like feeding into it a ton. Like, when you are, trying to leave a conversation and you have to get yourself to stop asking follow-up questions. But for me, it's hard because I feel like it's rude if I don't ask a follow-up question. Like, instead of being like, oh, really? Well, how did that actually happen? How did your boyfriend get that job? Just be like, oh, that's so great. So anyway, whatever, kind of try changing the subject. As far as what you might have to do for a next step where somebody might not be taking the hint so subtly, I mean, just kind of say something, and you can say it in like a jokey way. I don't think you need to be like calling your friends out or whatever. You can kind of be like, okay, like, love you, but let's, like, when you're out or whatever, having girls' night or having a drink, whatever, love you, let's talk about something else other than boys. Like, I feel like you can be like, I feel like I've been talking about boys so much, so you don't have to say like your boyfriend, you know what I mean? Just be like, okay, let's just get off the subject of men. And if you really need to, you can say to your friends, like, I do feel a little bit self-conscious not self-conscious, but, sometimes it's hard for me to know that I'm single in a group of girlfriends that, all have, partners, and I want to hear all your big events. I'm here for you. I'm happy for you. I always want to support you. But, sometimes it feels like we're really focused on, your boyfriend, and I'd love to be able to, like, talk about stuff that's a little bit more relevant to me in my life as well, right? So those are kind of your 3 steps there. I always try to strike that balance. I never wanted to be that person that like only talks about her boyfriend or her husband. I think it's like cringe, and always think it's important to like be able to be a good wing woman and someone that doesn't need to be like with their boyfriend at all times. So I always just try to like project that behavior, and like hopefully people will like pick up on it and like do the same, because we're all happy for you, but nobody wants to hear about your relationship 24/7, especially how happy it is. Tell me the drama so we can relate to how we both are delinquents. Okay. And how to cope or learn to deal with being okay that you're not in a relationship in your 20s. So I know for, my friends that are single, and now 30, or 29 or whatever, sometimes it can be hard for them, and some of them harder than others. And I think that it's just something where, unfortunately, like the cliche advice, not the whole like just work on yourself thing, but you just have to like keep pushing along. Do you know what I mean? Like, my advice is not to like, stop looking and he'll come to you. Like, I know a lot of people say that, but I think, how old are you? What's your situation? You don't want or need to have a serious boyfriend between the ages of 20 to 25. Like, you really don't. Men suck at this time anyway. They're just not like in their prime looks wise, maturity wise. Like, just truly trust me, you're just gonna get yourself a headache. Past that, I mean, it's just like anything. You want a job, you want to lose weight, you want a man. I know it's exhausting, I know it's hard, I know it's not always fun, but you gotta keep applying for jobs, you gotta keep going on dates, you gotta keep going to the gym. You get my drift. So, and and you can't spiral, you can't spin out. Like, you just have to be okay with dealing with rejection and just not put like too much pressure on any one relationship, any one talking stage, whatever it is, and see the red flags for as they pop up. Do you know what I mean? Don't get like wrapped up in romanticizing people within 4 seconds of meeting them. Truly, that is my best advice, is that you just have to keep dating people as though it's like your job, and kind of take a little bit of that like deep emotion away, and know that this is just my time of being single, and I'm learning something right now, and as much as it hurts, it's valuable. Again, not the same thing, but me applying to jobs, like, okay, now that I've maybe got a job offer, I can look back and be like, I had so much fun the past 5 months. I had off that summer, I got to do this, I got to do that. Like, while it was stressful, I was enjoying the perks that came with it. So enjoy the perks that come with being single, having all of your time to yourself, being able to do whatever you want without any sort of threat or whisper of drama being attached to it, cooking the food that you want for dinner. Like, there's a lot of good things, so enjoy those good things while you have them, and actively date around to, you know, learn and find what you want in a partner. And, you know, you can't spiral about it, because the more that you do, the more you're gonna just put that energy out into the universe and like remain, you know, negative and feeling upset. So you gotta try to stay positive. Okay, next one. Do you have any thoughts on how to go about creating a healthy relationship with food and exercise? You seem to be somewhat at peace with both, and it would be cool to hear your thoughts. Totally. I always love to talk about this, because I'm so happy with the way that I look, the way that I exercise, the way that I eat at this point in my life, and I finally feel like I found the hack for that, and I've truly never felt better since I kind of dropped a couple pounds before my wedding. And this is my thoughts here, okay? So I think we live in a world today where there's a lot of very black and white, or not necessarily extremist, but very black and white like viewpoints on certain topics. And for the most part, there's good intention behind these things, right? Things like body positivity, right? Because we look back at the early 2000s and 90s, the way that like the paparazzi and these magazines spoke about young women and their bodies, and, you know, eating disorders were like running rampant and undercover and whatever, okay? Like, all that's good, but it is actually okay, right, to want to lose weight, to, you know, look better, feel better, whatever your motivation may be, like, is also valid. We don't want either extreme, right? Like, we don't want to be promoting eating disorders and, you know, starving, whatever else, but we don't want to just be like, none of it matters, like, eat what you want, whatever, like, it's part of your health. So for me, I knew what my goals were. For me, kind of exercise and healthy lifestyle have always been an important part of my life and something that motivated me. But you know what else motivates me? Eating McDonald's on a Sunday, okay? So what I did was just kind of experiment throughout the years with different ways of losing weight, or, you know, feeling good, or dressing for my body, and it just took time. And, you know, there's a multitude of things that make me is key. So I think it's just about finding what works for you, like within your goals, being honest with yourself, first and foremost, about what your goals are. You're allowed to want a certain look or whatever for yourself. It should be realistic, okay? Because we're not talking about getting like bone reductions and things like that. But the sky's the limit. You can do anything that you wanted to do. And I have just found a calorie deficit was what helped me lose 10 pounds. I will die on this hill that if you are not in a calorie deficit, I'm sorry, that if you say that you're in a calorie deficit but you're not losing weight, you're not really in one. You just think you are. I don't fuck around with fad diets. I don't do anything vegan. What was I gonna say? Kosher, gluten-free, like paleo, like none of that. I try to eat in a calorie deficit sometimes. I have a general understanding of how many calories are in things. I track mentally, sort of, my food. I make it a priority to exercise 3 times a week, and that's it. I don't punish myself if I don't exercise. So you just have to kind of like work through it and see what works for you and what you really want. You know what I mean? What your goals are. Because like I said, we want the body positivity, and there's no like cookie cutter one size fits all for what you need to or should look like or whatever. But if you have goals, like, and you just want to accomplish them, like, that's valid. Get after it. You can absolutely do it. Anyone can. There is literally no, it's not even like a career thing, right? Where I say I think anyone can do anything for their career. That's obviously a little bit harder. No, anyone can do, like, health-wise, like, you can do anything you want. Like, you have the power. It's all about what you eat, your exercise. Like, you don't even have to do anything crazy. It's just like, I found that hack and found how to maintain it. So I feel good, and yeah. Things you wish you knew before moving out of your parents' house. Okay, interesting. So I moved out of my mom's house. My parents were divorced. I moved out of my mom's house when I was 25. It was literally my 25th birthday when I moved into my first apartment. As far as like what I wish I knew, I don't know that I got hit with any like crazy surprises. I will say this. I strongly think that you should rent before you buy. I think everyone is so obsessed about one-upping each other and owning a home and this, that, and the third. I don't think anybody in their 20s, like, unless you really have like an unlimited supply of money, like, and are super financially responsible, like, needs to necessarily like own a home. I think that I figured out a lot while I was renting, like understanding what it looks like to have a month of bills, how often things can break, you know, being responsible for cleaning, for, you know, cooking for myself or whatever. So, you know, I found hacks along the way. Meal kit services for me personally was one of them. You guys know I love my meal kit service, who refuses to sponsor me, so I don't want to say their name because I'm a brat. Putting all my bills on auto pay, okay, and then putting them on my calendar with a reminder the day before in a certain color that the bill is going to come out on that day, so I know and I can look at my calendar every time I get paid. How much do I need for bills? I already knew this too, but you should absolutely understand that you should not be spending 40-50% of your income on your housing. That's, again, if you can afford to. I understand it's not always an option not to, but if you can stay with your parents a little longer, if you can get an apartment that's a little cheaper, if you can get a roommate, like, do it. because you can't afford to do anything or live your life because you had to have this apartment that you can't really afford, okay? Think more 20% of your income. So yeah, before I moved out, or those are the things that I think were the biggest. Also, understanding how it is to have like a roommate, which mine was my boyfriend, now husband, who he just called me actually. Alright, what do we got? I don't know if I have enough time to do the rest of them, but okay. Confidence and comparing yourself to others. You seem like such a genuinely kind-hearted person and so confident, so please help. Thank you. So, okay. So strongly I feel that confidence is nothing to do with how you look whatsoever. This is real. This isn't like that bullshit advice of people being like, oh, be yourself. No, like, fully confidence is how you carry yourself and how you treat other people, okay? I can be sassy. We don't want to be like walked all over, okay? But the most like unattractive quality in somebody else is somebody that's just like such a jackass, that's so like rude, or like puts you down for like no reason, or they can't like put their walls down and be like genuine. And the most attractive quality in somebody is somebody that is kind but can also be assertive when needed. Someone that like, you know, feels like they want to help others in like the way of being a leader. Someone that is okay with not always coming in first place. Someone that can celebrate someone else's wins. Like, there's nothing more gross than being like jealous and or like insecure. Like, if you're so insecure that it comes out as jealousy, it is like gross. Like, I hate people like that. I could want to touch them with a 20-foot pole. I really wouldn't. If you come around me and I feel that your energy is like not insecure, where like, you know, you're like just needing a boost, but insecure that's like jealous or so super negative, it is just like you are just radiating negativity around everybody and around you, and you're bringing that negativity back to you. So if you are confident in yourself and who you are, in being okay with getting a little bit better as a person day by day, putting one foot in front of the other, even though you know you don't have all the answers, even though you might be fighting an uphill battle, even though you don't always feel your best every single day, that is just going to breed more confidence. Like, confidence breeds more confidence, and you gotta make sure you ground yourself so that you don't get to like a cocky level where you're being arrogant, where you're pushing the limits, where you're being gross in another like arrogant way, because that usually stems from insecurities as well, or just people that haven't gotten checked and they need to. So I think it's just about waking up and being like, okay, like, I choose to be positive, I choose to be confident in who I am as a person, my path, not compare myself to others. I mean, I have had some humbling moments and setbacks and things, and even me as like a creator, right? Like, there are creators that have been on TikTok and YouTube for a quarter of the time that I've been on it, and they might have 2 million followers and subscribers or whatever, and I still have 50,000. So like, I could sit there and like focus on that and be like, oh, I'm a loser or whatever, like, but it's like, what is the point of sitting there? Like, I'm not them. Like, I have a totally different life than them, totally different content. situation is so unique, so you just can't compare yourself to others. Like, I'm so genuinely happy being a small influencer, and I could go to some sort of, maybe I wouldn't get invited to like an influencer event, right? And I could be like, oh, I'm really sad, like I didn't get invited to this, and like that person did because they have all these followers, da, da, da. Well, guess what? There's gonna be other things in life that I'm gonna get because I have a career outside of social media, or because I live in this city, or I have this family member, or I have that person isn't gonna get. So it's never like, it's not fucking kindergarten where we all get a gold medal for just living life, okay? You're gonna have the upper hand in certain situations other people aren't. And even if you are on the same path, you're gonna get there. You're gonna get there. If they're already there, that's fine. Let them be there. Your joy is coming up. So you just have to like see the big picture and like know that confidence is positivity and going to like bring you more ultimately. Okay, I'm gonna do one more. Hi Julia, firstly thank you for doing this. You seem like you have a deep, profound connection with your friends and family. How do you develop and get into that state with them? For example, I really struggle with opening up and deep conversations, and I think that is the reason my friendships will never get that depth. Also, I'm in marketing too. How do you keep up with trends and continue to develop yourself professionally? So for the first part of it, how to have a really deep connection with friends and family. Oh, goodness. So I think close, deep connections and relationships at their core are built on trust, okay? And that is why we love, hanging around with the people that we've known forever. We feel comfortable around because we know that we can trust them enough to be ourselves, to be vulnerable, and to have like more meaningful conversations, which is of course so much more fulfilling than having an acquaintance that you just like talk about the weather with, right? So I think that just gets built over time, right? Like when you first meet somebody, you do talk about the weather, you talk about your hobbies at like a surface level, but then the people that you feel like you're, drawn to or like have a connection with, you kind of can dip your toe in on topics that are a little bit more deep, I suppose, than just your surface level stuff, and then kind of see how they react and like go from there. So, maybe opening up to somebody about a situation that happened to you or a situation you're going through that's not too personal, and also not sharing like the extreme details, right? Like you could be like, yeah, like I'm having like a little bit of a tough day this morning, like my boyfriend and I like got into a fight last night and it's just frustrating. Sometimes men can be so selfish, right? So you say that, you start there. You don't have to be like, Joey, I found underwear in Joey's, like you don't have to like say that all right away. Like just start with something like a little bit pulled back, dialed back, and see what they say. See if they connect, make that bid for connection back to you, right? Being like, oh my god, yes, like, are you kidding me? Like, men are the worst. Like, my husband does this and is like so selfish all the time. Like, what happened? You'd be like, oh, well, yeah. He was going golfing the other day. Whatever it is. So it just kind of, and this could be like a coworker that's like similar in age to you, or a family member, whatever it is. And you have to be okay with being vulnerable. It goes back to trust and confidence and security, because if you are so insecure and so worried that anything that you say to anybody that is remotely like meaningful relationships that are deep and meaningful and real come with a little bit of drama. And I don't want to say drama in a way of like toxic or negative. It comes with like, just, you might not always agree and you might get into an uncomfortable conversation about it, right? Who hurts us in life, okay? The people we care about, period. Do you get hurt by people you don't care about? No. If you are hurt, it's because you care about a person, right? Like, let that sink in. So if you're so worried about getting hurt that you don't put yourself out there, then you'll never have that deeper connection. You won't be able to. So, it's like you can't have, sunshine without a little rain, right? So you just have to trust, put yourself out on a limb a little bit and kind of breadcrumb, some details and be vulnerable with your life. And you should do that slowly and over time. You shouldn't bombard people with like, all of a sudden just like going through every single detail of like your life or your marriage or whatever you want to talk about. But at the core, it's about trust, and it's about being secure enough to be vulnerable and being secure enough to, accept that you might get hurt by this type of person one day, and that's okay, because there's conflict resolution, babe. You can always work it out, always. So anyway, long video, but I feel like I did good with my responses. I feel like I was on a roll. So thank you guys so much for your questions. I always appreciate them, and you can always check my community